Good morning. My name is Jacob Folger. I'm a sculptor and an artist, and this morning we are going to sculpt a mermaid sitting on a rock. And I'm going to provide you on the video a list of things that we'll be using that you can buy at an art store or craft store, that sort of thing. And the one thing I want to tell you that's really important is that when you go to buy your clay, open the box of clay up, and it'll be wrapped in plastic, and take your fingers and press it into the plastic and make sure it's nice and soft and pliable like that. Probably for this project we're going to need a little less than 5 pounds of clay, and most stores, art stores, that's how they sell it. They sell it in 5-pound boxes. Okay, so we're going to start off by squeezing the shape of a ball, and this is going to be for the rock, for the mermaid to sit on. And I'm just trying to rough it. I'm not necessarily trying to make it smooth, but just, you know, basically like a shape like this. And then I'm going to, we work on a board. This is actually just a cutting board that I bought at a dollar store, and it only cost about I don't know, like $1 or $2 maybe. And I use these a lot. These are kind of nice to have. So we're just gonna basically press it into the board, making the bottom of the rock flat. So it's like that. Just pressing it. You can move it around like that. It's fine. Okay. We're just trying to rough that in at this point. Next, we're going to create the tail, or the beginning of the tail and torso of the mermaid. So what we do basically is, I'll push this back out of the way. We start off with a ball of clay like this. You can roll it like this, and then you can roll it to and fro between your hands. And the shape that we're trying to create will be wider up here and thinner down here. So we just roll it. If you take your hands and hold them at a slight angle, applying light pressure, you should be able to obtain that shape. There we go. We're not going to worry about the fins. The fins will go down here. We're not going to worry about that right now. But this is basically the shape and size that we want here. 5-6 inches long. A nice smooth transition from up here down to the where the fins will go later. Now we're going to place this on the rock and just not pressing in, but mostly just getting an idea of where we want it to sit. Okay, and we want it to be kind of a nice flowing position, something like this. In other words, you wouldn't want it like that. You wouldn't want it jacked straight. You want it nice and flowing. Okay, and then once you get it in that position that you want it in, take one of your tools that is on the source list for the things, tools and supplies that you'll need, and just make a few marks into the stone where the lower part of the body is going to sit, and just take it off. And that'll tell you where it's going to go. And then what we're going to do is you'll need a cup of water, and that's on the source list. You dip your sculpting tool into the water, and then just make scores in the stone like that. And then on the tail itself, you do it again here. And what that does is it allows two pieces of clay to bond better and to become more sturdy when it dries. Okay, so we'll just we'll put it on here like that. And that's kind of a nice, slow, flowing, relaxed pose, basically, for the lower body and the tail. And we can smooth that out a little bit later. I just press that into place, okay? And then next, we're going to start to make the torso, the upper torso of the mermaid. Now, I should tell you that what we're doing here, you can shrink it down or make it bigger, depending on however you want, using the same techniques that I'm showing you here, okay? So, so don't worry about that. So what we're going to do is we're going to roll a ball, push this out of the way, roll a ball, and then roll it again using that same technique that we used before, where we put our hands kind of at a V, and applying gentle pressure, we roll a shape like this. And this will be for the torso. And then that's going to go right here. So we dip our knife in the water, score it at the top, score it at the bottom, where it's going to join, and then just twist it into place. Now you can see, basically, that we have the shape of the lower body, the tail, and now the torso up here. And then what you do is we're going to do something called blending. And blending is when you draw clay from one piece that's joined another, or if you want to smooth something, or if there's a imperfection, you can do this to erase it. It's called blending. Okay, we do it a lot. You'll hear me say it a lot. And so basically what we do is we take our thumb and blend that the upper body portion, the torso portion of the mermaid, into the lower body. So this will be here, the waistline of the mermaid, and this will be the upper portion here. I'm just going to raise the camera now up a little higher here so you can see the upper portion better, okay? Now, we're going to begin the head, and so we just need a ball that's going to be about the size of the head, and we're going to hold it there in position just to see how it looks, and make sure it's about the proper size. And then we're going to roll it in just slightly to create a bit of an oval shaped, kind of like this. So we want that basic shape right there. Okay, we'll set it up there again to make sure it's about the right size, and it is. Okay, and then down on the bottom in the back, we're going to just pull and pinch slightly to begin the neck of the head, the neck for the head, just a little bit, like that. And we can add clay to that later, but I just wanted to get that started. Okay, now about halfway, just we could draw a little line here just so you could see, about halfway down from the top to the bottom of the head. We want to draw a little line that would just give us some idea of where the eyes will begin. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take our fingers. You can use your index finger or your thumb and just press in here to create the an indentation for the beginning of the eyes. And when you press that in, if you keep a little bit of distance between your fingers when you press, it will create the bridge of the nose as well. And you can bring that out a little bit by just pinching it and pulling. Okay. And one thing I should tell you is that if you had a small head on the computer that you could bring up on Google, do a search for female head in sculpture, or female clay head, or something like that, you could get pictures that you could go by that would be helpful. And you can also use these pictures in of course this tutorial. But sometimes it's just better, and also the more practice that you have when you're trying to learn how to do something, obviously you're going to get better at it. So I actually don't even do too many women's heads. Usually, actually, I'm doing animals and things like that, and gargoyles. I don't do a lot of mermaids. I have done some, and they turned out really nice. But it takes time, and practice makes perfect, most definitely. So, so you've got now the shape here of where the eyes will go and the bridge of the nose, and we want to now terminate the nose down at the bottom here, and all we do basically is press the clay in around down here to create the tip of the nose. And then what we'll do is we'll take a little bit of clay, just a little bit, and put it on the end of the nose there, and blend it into the bridge of the nose. And I like to on my noses, for female noses, I like to give it a slight upturn like that, and just by pressing up. There we go. Now for the mouth, we begin the mouth now. The way we do that is we take a small bit of clay, roll it into a ball, and place it underneath the nose, and actually try to form a noodle, and that's by rolling it the other way, like this. Like this. Create a noodle and just place it on top there. That's a little long, but we can snip it off. And just place it on top like that, and then just blend it in. And you can use a tool to do that as well. And you might want to just kind of by pushing your thumb into the face here, you can just snip it off there. You can take your sculpting tool and just kind of blend it in at the top like that. And this is where, you know, it would be very helpful to have you know, pictures to go by, and that's why I mean, I do my sculpture mostly. I'm actually at my desk now, and I'm doing my sculpture in front of my computer. And I actually do have, I'm not going to move the camera to show you, but I do have a picture of a face up on the computer right now. Actually, I just use one or two faces. I don't need a whole bunch. I just need just a little information to give me the ideas that I need for sculpting. you can see that there's the lip goes up here and then comes down and then comes and goes up again. That's the shape of a lip. You can look in the mirror, but I do recommend using a sculpture as a picture because it just has a different appearance than a actual picture of a human face. So that's why I recommend it. And then what you can do is you can take now a small noodle of clay like this and put it down for the bottom lip here like this and blend it in at the bottom. And then what you can do is you can take your time and just slim everything down so that the lips are about the size that you want. It takes a little bit of patience. But if you take your time, you should get to where you want to be. I try to leave that break in the in here between the lips. I try to leave that there. I try not to obscure that when I'm sculpting because that kind of gives me an idea of where the lips start and stop. It is by far here, this part, the most difficult part I find in sculpting a mermaid is sculpting the face. You can take, also on the source list, there's a recommendation to have a knife, some kind of knife. X-Acto knives work pretty good also, but just to, have to aid in the carving and sculpting. I'm just trying to add a little bit of upturn to the lips a little bit, just to add a little bit of life to it so she doesn't look so sad and serious. There's a few other things that you can do also, is you can add a little bit of cheekbones, cheeks, by adding a little bit of clay, blending it in. Like that. If you're wondering about my clay, you might notice that the clay that you buy is either red or gray, but my clay is red and gray, and it's just like marbled almost. And the reason why is because I use so much clay. I'm an avid sculptor, that I use so much of it that I recycle it when I'm done. And what I do, the way I recycle it is I wrap it in a wet towel and put it inside a plastic bag. And within a few days it becomes all soft and pliable again. I don't even really have to knead it. It just sort of does that. So she's starting to now, the female of the face and the features are starting to open up, and she's starting to take on a look of feminine qualities. It might take this might take a little bit more work, but I'm getting there, and pretty soon I think she'll be just fine. I'm just gonna work on the lips a little bit more. And again, it does take patience. Any kind of learning that you're doing in your life, as you well know, takes time and practice sometimes. And then sometimes not. Some people just start doing something and boom, they're able to do it. Now I want to show you how to do eyes. In this case, I'm just going to set this up here to see how it's looking. It's going to need a little bit more work, but it's close. I usually do on something this small for a little head, especially on a mermaid. I like their eyes to be closed. So I just do a simple line. A knife works good for that. So I just do basically just carve a little line in there like that. And I've got it basically roughed in. I will more than likely do some more work on the face as I go, but I want to go ahead and get this up and on the body, and so we can move on here. Okay, so next, so I already started a little bit of a neck down here, just to something to start us off. And now I'm going to do the same on just squeezing and pulling. I'm going to just create a little bit of a neck here. And then flatten it a little bit for the head to join. Alright. And then I'll take my knife, a little bit of water. I call this wet and score. Wet and score. So I dip the knife or sharp tool in the water, and I score the two pieces of clay where they're going to join. I score them, always remembering to wet and score both parts. Like that. And then join the two pieces, and then blend the parts together with my finger. And once the neck is, or the head is on there, it's a lot easier then to squeeze and shape it so that the neck is formed better and longer. You can use a tool if it'll be easier. Hold the clay on there and use your tool to blend if it's easier. Okay, and I'm just going to squeeze now and just form a little bit longer of a neck. I think it's very effeminate, feminine to have a long neck if possible. You can also squeeze the waist also to elongate the length of the torso. I never did study, anatomy of anything, really. But I have a basic idea of how it should look. And usually when I do a creation, whether it's an animal or a human, they tend to be somewhat stylized, for sure, but definitely have the appearance enough to be pleasing to the eye. And it takes practice and some to get to that. I'm not perfect, for sure, but it hasn't slowed me down that much at all. So now we need to add breasts, and people do this different ways. This is how I do it. Basically, I start with 2 balls. And I just roll them to be about the same size, like I'm doing here. I'm just rolling between my fingers. Same size. This one needs a little bit more. I have a piece of clay over here, if you're wondering where I'm getting clay. That's where it's coming from. So I just roll about two balls about the same size, and I just press them on to the torso, and again, wetting and scoring would probably be the best thing to do in this case. And just blend them in. You can blend with any finger you like. I tend to use either my forefinger or my thumb. And sometimes I use a tool, like going up underneath the breast here. I'm going to use a tool. And again, you can go on to Google. Google does have nude art on there, and nudes and all kinds of stuff, and you can look at that. You can say, what I usually say again is, I think there's a different look in when something's a sculpture as opposed to a picture of a human. You can decide that for yourself, but for me, that's what I do know. And so usually I'll say something like female breasts in sculpture. That will be my search term, and I'll put that in the Google search bar, and I'll hit return, and then I'll click up at the top. It has a little thing that says images right next to web, and you click on images, and boom, you got a whole bunch in front of you. It's very fast, and the pictures are fairly good quality, and it's very easy to see. There we go. So that's not too bad. I mean, I could probably work on those a little bit more, but actually, you know what? That actually, for a start, that turned out pretty good. I'm going to go over a few other things with you. Whenever you're sculpting something, if you can, at first it may be difficult but to even understand. But if you picture just for a minute, maybe your grandfather sitting in his easy chair reading the newspaper, and then he falls asleep, and he's all sprawled out, and he's all like relaxed and just like melted into the chair. That's kind of what you want to do when you sculpt. You want to try to make it appear lifelike and not just jacked up out of tension, and so take a little bit of time to try to achieve that when you're sculpting, so things look natural and relaxed. And so you can see she just sort of turned here. Her head is turned a little bit. I could maybe have it point down a little bit. And she actually, even though the sculpture hasn't even been completed yet, she's already looking has that nice relaxed quality. So I do recommend trying for that. And so now we're going to add the arms. And the way we do that, basically, just push her out of the way here, is roll a ball and then roll it into a noodle like this. So you come up with a length of clay for an arm. Okay. So next we're adding the arms, and I don't know, I think I may have, actually that's not too bad. It's a little thin. I'm going to add a little bit more clay to it. Roll a ball. And if you just picture, what you can do is hold your own arm in your lap how you would want it. Or just to give you an idea, I'm just going to move it this way. And I'm just going to, I should score and wet and score. with the tool here, where it's at least where it's joining the body there at the shoulder. And then blend it in and just like that. Now you can, I mean, this is your sculpture, so if it would be better for you to obscure the breasts, you can bend the arm here. If you would prefer to obscure the breast somehow, you could do that, of course. It's your sculpture, do what you like. I personally, it doesn't bother me. Naked breasts don't really bother me that much, so I don't really have any problem with it. And usually the pieces I do, the mermaids I do, I just leave them exposed. And I just want her arm relaxed there. If you have any cracking, or it seems like the clay is drying on you a little bit faster than you would like, and you're still working on it, you can wet it. You can take a mister like this and just give it a little misting. I don't recommend getting it soaked, just a little bit there, and that will make it easier to smooth it out. And also, don't worry about, you know, roughness right now, because I'm going to show you how to get it really smooth once we move along here. I'm just going to turn her hand out a little bit. I know her hand is not really detailed, but I also, I can sculpt hands, but I tend to leave something this small. I don't usually do much with the hands because I just think they look fine. You can, I'll show you how to draw fingers. What you can do is you can take a tool and you can just draw in fingers, and then just take your time to carve it out. You can take just draw like lines in there like that. You can look at your own hands. You can look at hands in women's hands or female hands in sculpture. Whenever you're looking at something for sculpture, it's always better to say female or male. When you say woman or man, you'll get all these weird pictures. You'd be surprised. So it's better actually to just try to say male or female. But for me, I just usually leave them somewhat undefined and detailed for certain pieces that I'm doing. Okay, and then we'll need another arm for the other side, so you want to make it about the same size. And as far as getting a length idea, again, using your own arms, judging the distance between the pieces, or the the distance between, say, your shoulder and where the hand is going to end, or that sort of thing. You can judge that way. And try to remember to score, wet and score. Sometimes I don't, because I often make a mold of my pieces and I cast them, and I do sell my art, so I cast them and sell them. And it doesn't really matter to me, because I don't really hardly ever make originals that I have sitting around. But you may not be molding a piece like this. Would be a relatively complicated mold, and I don't know if that's going to happen for you right now. So in order for the piece to be something that you want to have for many years to come, or whatever, you would want to definitely wet and score when you're joining two pieces of clay together, for sure. Most definitely. Okay. So let me just do that. And just put her hand relaxed on her lap like that. Now I'm going to work on the tail a little bit. I'm going to bring this down like that. And I'm going to move it a little bit. I want to try to get it going more this way and then more that way. So even though I wet and scored it, it's still fairly moist and pliable. So I'm just going to, move it gently. And have that more flowing. And what you can do also is you can take, if you're finding difficulty in moving it, you can take your knife and just cut it away from the stone, both sides. There we go. And that releases it, and then I can move it the way I want. So there's like this, for me, usually there's like this construction time, like what I'm doing now. Mostly construction, where I'm putting the piece together. And then there's the time of trying to achieve a flowing form that I'm happy with, using an artistic sense. And that's what I'm actually trying to do now, and that may take some time. I want her looking down more, kind of like, maybe not sad, but just maybe pondering life or something, I don't know, looking at the water below. I guess for me, I sort of picture there being, water down here. Now for the tail, the way I do that, let me push this back. Let's push this back out of the way here for a minute, and what I'll do is I'll roll the ball. Nice way to start. And then remember how we did the V? You roll it on one end, creating kind of a point on one end, and then on the other end you can do the same. That's one way to get the basic shape together. And then you can flatten it a little bit. And we're looking for that same form, the same idea for the form. And right now I'm not going to score it yet. I'm just trying to basically come up with what I want. Okay, and then I'll take it off and do some scoring, wet and score on the tail, on the fin itself, and on the rock. Like that, and then I'll place it on there the way I want it, and start blending it in to the tail. You can look up mermaid tails in Sculpture, remember, and you can get ideas how you might want to sculpt the tail. I think that mermaid tails should be stylized and attractive with nice form. And I'm having it go up on the rock, and I'm having it come down here, so it's very natural looking. Maybe turn this up a little bit. You see that? Kind of giving it more of a lifelike quality. And putting a little bit of a kind of a triangle shape in the little bit of a dimple in the bottom, to the bottom of the fin, to kind of just make it more interesting. And just bring it up here a little bit like that. There we go. That's getting a little dry, so I'm going to give it a little squirt here. And see how that fin looks. She is leaning back a little bit, so I'll press her up. And now I'll begin to add hair. So we'll do that next. So I'm going to just show you this here. It's a little higher. Okay. Let's just try to get her into position here. You know, a lot of artists, they work from drawings and they work from armatures. Armature is a steel skeleton or metal skeleton that goes inside. And once they do that skeleton, they start doing the sculpture around the piece, they're stuck. Because you can't do anything about changing the form or shape or anything. And I don't like to sculpt that way. I never have. I've never used an armature once, not once in my entire career as an artist. And I've never worked from a drawing either. In fact, I can't really draw very well at all, and, you know, much more than a stick figure. Unless I try really hard. Sometimes I can. But what I'm saying basically is this method of sculpting is my preferred, obviously, because I can move it around and change it. And okay, so now we're going to add hair. And there's a lot of ways to do this, but it's the way I usually do it is I roll. Let me move this kind of this way, I think. And what I do is I'll roll a ball of clay. The back of her head is a little short, a little flat, but that's okay because the hair is going there and I'm not too worried about it. So I'll roll a noodle of clay, and you can put it on just like that. Or what you can do, I just want to get that a little bit more uniform, so I'll roll it again. Okay. And then what you can do is you can take your thumb and forefinger and pinch it like this. Like that. And just make it, you know, try to make it more uniform before you put it on. And then you can go ahead and wet and score the. I'm just using a different knife here because I think it'll be easier for me. And the hair itself. Okay. And then just put it on the head. Blend it in at the top, anyways. And at this point, I'm just going to, you know, probably lay it on there kind of in a nice flowing way. Okay. and then I'll roll another one, and I'll do another one. I'm gonna do this off camera just so I don't have to keep moving the sculpture, because there's not a lot of room here. I don't know if I mentioned that the way I do these films is I put the camera between me and the subject. Obviously, you can see that that's the way it is, and so there's not a lot of room, but it's the way I find to be the best, so that you absolutely can see what I'm doing. Because if you can't, then obviously the communication is going to break down really fast, and we want you to be able to see exactly what I'm doing. So basically, I have the camera against my eye, and I can see what you see, and you can see what I see. That's why I do it that way. This is sculpture. Obviously, you need to be able to. So that's what we're trying to achieve there. Rolling another piece now. You can make them different thicknesses depending on what's comfortable for you. And then do the pinching as I showed you. That just gives it more interesting texture. It's not necessary. And remembering, I'm going to mold this piece. I like it. I think it's going to be a nice piece, so I'm going to mold it. And I'm not too worried right now about the wetting and scoring. So, but for you, I highly recommend it. But I just want to, I try to teach so that you can learn that. Okay. All right. And she is slumping a little bit for sure. Let's see, we're gonna need another piece of clay here for the next piece of hair. Okay. That is one drawback to not using an armature, is that you have problems like that where it's moving around a lot and sometimes not in a good way. But I'm used to it, and I've been doing art like this way for a long time, so I know that I can deal with it. Okay. Okay, once we've got the hair on, it's a good idea to take some clay and a knife like this, and just kind of carve and blend the piece of lengths of clay together. It'll make it more solid, and just go around, do that, and then also if there's any holes like that there, just take a small piece of clay and basically sculpt it in there and fill those holes. It's just going to give it a lot more structural integrity. If you have any hair that's hair strands that are hanging off by themselves like that, like this one just was a second ago, you definitely want to bring them into the body or bring them into the other hair, and and make it all solid, because otherwise that little piece like that over time will probably break off. And then also, wherever a piece of clay was added, you definitely want to take your knife and just sculpt that in so that there's not a gap there anymore. And you just take your time and go around and do that around the whole sculpture. Anywhere where one piece of clay was joined to another and there's a gap, you should fill that in. Like up in here, see this this gap where hair joins your head, but it's not really joining it because there's a big hole there. Just take a little piece of clay. Now you don't want to you want some detail there, but not that much, and you just fill that in and just carve it in there like that, so it's not, it'll make it, what I'm trying for you is to make it more structurally sound so that you can enjoy this for a long time. Now, attached to this video is going to be, if you look up in the upper right hand corner of the video, there's going to be a little eye there. If you click on the eye, the letter I, if you click on that, it will give you a link to a playlist of finishes that you can do. I do all kinds of things, and I have classes on finishes too, videos on finishes. And you can look those up and try a finish on this if you want, or just hand paint it. Okay. So once after you've gone around and you've done all that, filling these little gaps and getting it all carved in the way you want, after that, what you do is you take a paintbrush like this and a cup of water. I have a can of water here. Let's see it here. And you dip the brush in the water and you dab it on the table. It doesn't have to be a paper towel, but it could be just the table or the board you're working on. And then you just take your time and go around the entire sculpture and smooth it until you're happy with the way it looks. Okay, it doesn't take a long time, but if you want it really, really smooth, then that's what you would do, and it just depends on how much, how rough the sculpture is and that sort of thing. One thing that you would want to watch out for is getting a very wet brush around the face, around the eyes, the lips, the nose. You don't want to create a bunch of mud around that. If you take water and you mix it with clay, you make mud. You don't want to get a bunch of mud up there, so be very careful. It'll be very easy to mess that up. And then just go around and just go over it. That's why I say to dab the brush on something to get the excess water off. The other thing is, when you're doing this, your brush will get loaded with clay, and to get it off the brush and into the water so you can get a fresh brush full of water, take your brush and go like this on the bottom of the can, like this, vigorously, and that will take the clay off the brush. And then take the excess off the brush, dab it on like a board or something like that to get the excess water off. You want water on it, but just not tons. And take your time and go around the sculpture and smooth it out. Couple other things. When you're working, if you're tired and you need to take a break, and sometimes, again, it's just a good idea to step back and take a break and come back to it in 20 minutes or whatever, or even a day later. Take your mister and mist the sculpture, get it moist or wet, and wrap it in a plastic garbage bag, and wrap it tight, or tie it off or what you can do, put the bag over, and you can take objects and set them around to hold the bag to the table. Don't leave it like that indefinitely, because it will harden after time. You do still have to wet it every day or two for sure, but this is just as if you want to take a break. And then when you finally go and you decide you want to dry your mermaid, you should just cover it loosely. Put a bag over it and just let it sit there for 2 or 3 days, and then remove the bag and let it dry the rest of the way. Because if it's drying slowly, it will last much longer. And this type of clay, the self-hardening clay that I'm recommending that you use, is very durable. It is not waterproof, but it is durable, and it can last a long time. I have sculptures that I did many years ago that I still have, even though I've moved a number of times and that sort of thing. So like I say, it does last. And so that is how you make a mermaid. Practice makes perfect. Of course, you know, you're going to be slow at first. It's going to take time. It's human faces, like the face is difficult for most people, including myself. But you know, if you stay at it, you'll get really good. Try some of my other videos and just practice a little bit. And if you like my method of teaching and you like the type of content that I have in my videos, please subscribe to my channel. It is free, doesn't cost you a dime. And then also, if you like the video, please click the thumbs up button. Leave a comment. If you have any questions, send me an email. I'd be happy to, I really like to converse with the people who watch my videos. So if you have any questions or anything, you're just curious, you just want to talk, you're interested in something or whatever, just send me an email. And you can also visit my website at jacobfolger.com. So thank you so much for watching and for taking part in this little project. And I wish you the best.